Okay, in this eye here, you can see the bronchialis really well defined and really chronic. Okay, all here is the voice box, esophagus region. Okay, it's high congestion, lymph stagnation. Right here is the thyroid region. Okay, and the larynx, as well as the tonsils region. Okay, it's quite congested with lymph. Right here is the face region right here. Okay, that includes the upper jaw, the eyes. It's heavy lymph stagnation here, so probably sinus issues. Right here is the esophagus and the scapula below it, right here. They're both heavily congested with lymph. Very prominent is this very thick skin ring. Okay, it's extremely thick and needs to be detoxed. This happens when your thyroid is not working properly. Okay, and when you are not sweating properly. You can, as I just mentioned, the thyroid here was to a chronic side. And beside the thyroid is the parathyroid. And parathyroid is also responsible for calcium utilization and tissue integrity. And as you can see in your bowels here, it's very spastic, which indicates that the tissue integrity of the bowels are very weak, which is due to a weak parathyroid. All here is the middle upper lower back region. Okay, you can see in the spine region, you can see a nerve ring going right across it. Okay, this indicates there's potentially an issue. You have nerve rings going around the eye, and it's very prominent around this section. So these are fine lines going around the eye, like a tree of a trunk. Indicates weak nervous system, also indicates weak adrenals. And right here is the bladder region, and below it is the vagina and uterus region. It has heavy lymph stagnation on it, so you really need to detox that. Right here you can see the adrenals and the kidneys is to the chronic side. Remember when I said when the adrenals are down, you're going to have nervous system weakness, which I showed you with the nerve rings going around the eye. Okay, and also when the kidneys are also weak, you're going to have a thick skin ring, because the skin ring shows a weak thyroid. Okay, and also shows weak kidneys as well, because the skin takes the burden of the kidneys when you cannot eliminate waste properly through the kidneys. So the skin ring needs to be fixed by fixing the kidneys and by fixing the thyroid. And right here is the right foot, knee and thigh region. You can see this also has chronic lymph stagnation there as well. All this is the lower abdomen region area, includes the groin, the pelvis, again heavy lymph stagnation over there as well. And right here is the ovaries and pancreas region. Okay, you can see it's quite heavy lymph stagnation. Right here is the liver and gallbladder, again to the chronic side, heavy lymph stagnation there as well. And here's the diaphragm and the rib section, rib and chest region. Okay, you can see quite heavy lymph stagnation. And right here is the breast region. Okay, you can see it's quite congested with lymph. Okay, and the dark here, so it's getting to the chronic side. All this region is the lower and upper lungs. Okay, you can see it's quite heavy lymph stagnation. When you see it dark like that, there's a skin ring going over it around here. It indicates a very chronic lungs over here. And right here, the shoulder and neck region. You can see again quite heavy lymph. So you want to detox that quickly. Right here is the mastoid and medulla region. You can see it's quite heavy lymph stagnation. The mastoid and medulla are used for balancing equilibrium. You know, it's important in the function of how the body stabilizes itself. So really want to attend to this and detox this. Right here is the locomotion, vitality and the motor senses. Okay, this is very important for movement of the body from the brain to the other parts of the body. So it needs to be detoxed because it's heavy lymph stagnation. This entire section is the brain section here, very quite thick with lymph. So I recommend that you use something like a brain and nerve 2 to help you detox that. Maybe upper circulation to push blood flow to the region. All this region here is the scalp. Okay, on top here, scalp and the hair, and it has quite a bit of congestion there as well. So that needs to be taken care of as well. At the bottom here is the pituitary gland and the pineal gland. You can see both of them are quite chronic. The pituitary gland is crucial when it comes to controlling all the other glands. It's the master gland. So when it's weak, everything else is weak. So we really want to attend to that. Maybe use the pituitary tincture. The bowels are to the chronic side. You see, this is ascending colon right here. Okay, you can see when it's yellowish brown, this indicates subacute level of lymph stagnation. When you see it's very dark, that's chronic. So the ascending colon is subacute level of lymph stagnation, and this region here is the transverse colon, and the pituitary gland and the transverse colon are interconnected. You can see how both are dark and chronic. And right here is the descending colon. Again, this is more to the chronic side and should be cleaned up, okay, because it's getting quite dark. And as you can see, the bowels are spastic. They're getting tight and spastic. So this needs to be addressed. The weakness of the tissue here is due to, again, to the part to the parathyroid, which is beside the thyroid, and that needs to be fixed. You have a malabsorption ring around the pupil. This indicates that you're not absorbing nutrients properly, most likely due to mucus plaque on the small intestines. It needs to be scrubbed. Use a GI cleaner and stick on 100% fruits. You have radii solaris, very, very fine lines coming out of the pupil. This indicates toxic standards of waste leaching out to other body parts and glands, especially to the brain section here. It's quite obvious, so we need to really address that. And when you see the sclera darken like this is an indication of high acidosis. And what happens usually is that it will mirror around or be close around to most of the organ, tissue, and glands. So in this case, you can see all the yellow part here. It shows really high acidosis. So this will clear up nicely once you go on 100% fruit diet and use the herbs. But in general speaking, it indicates high acidosis in the body, and it should be cleaned up. There's also cholesterol in the actual pupil, so this needs to be addressed. This can indicate potential cataract. And there's also purple hue around the actual iris, indicates high cholesterol. Remember, the body uses cholesterol to bind to acids, and the adrenals produce cholesterol to fight inflammation, so indicates high acidosis. This is another reason why you should be 100% fruit diet and be using the herbs.